Hey, what's going on, everybody? I don't know if anybody can. You guys do something in the chat if you can hear me okay? Alright, of course you can hear me, Azuchi. What's going on? Alright, so I just got a new mic, so I'm trying to make sure that it's working okay. Yeah, I haven't switched it over yet. Man, you have to delete stuff already? Nightbot did. You're blacklisted. I'm assuming that was you, Allie. Let me... Alright, hold on one second. So I'll switch it over. I'll switch it over so you guys can see me. So I had to put on a computer moderator, and what it does is it deletes like swear words and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, I don't know why it deleted what you put down. I can't even see what you put down, Allie. Or who's the other one? Daisy too?
You said hello, and then hello, I can hear you.
Interesting. So it must be taking the H word, that sounds like, or that is like heck, and every time you say hello, it's blocking you. That's kind of dumb. Let me fix that real quick. And then we should be okay. If I can remember how to do it. I told you guys I'm still kind of new with this whole Nightbot thing. Oh, would it just disconnect me too? Yeah, whatever. I'll just go into the lesson. I see it didn't ban you this time though. Yeah, you said hello again and it was fine. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just gonna go right into the lesson, so we're not screwing around and everything. Unable to connect. Why? Of course this is gonna happen. So we got tech issues already. Let me play around with this for a second so I can see if I can get it working. There it goes. What are you guys blowing up my remind right now? Alright, so Unit 1 through 5 review. Sadler, how do I get remind to send to my phone? You have to, I believe, download the app. So if you download the Remind app, you can use that code that I sent you guys in the email or on, the little code that was sent in email, and you just have to add it on there, and you will be good to go, Sierra. Yeah, I'm going to go over this whole thing, Cassidy. I'm going to start right from the beginning. There's going to be some where you guys may only need me to do one because it's going to be the same steps for each lesson. As far as this one that I'm doing right now, I'm not as worried about the Unit 10 lesson 1 through 5. I'm more or less worried about the lab. So that Unit 10 lab number 1 or whatever, or part 1 or whatever I called it. That's the one that I want to see because it's based off of everything that's on this review. So, I'm just going to go right into it. Obviously, you guys can ask questions for each one, but if you get to a part where you're asking me to slow down or because I swipe down to the next question too fast, don't worry about that because I'll be uploading YouTube, or you can watch the playback right here on Twitch, and then you can just go to whatever part you need to go to. Okay? So I'm going to start right off with the good old polynomial long division. And right now, polynomial long division, you guys can do it two different ways. You guys can do it with the long division with the variables, or you can do it with the synthetic division. So I was going to show one of each because I know some of you guys had a preference with the long division. Some of you guys had a preference with the synthetic division. So we'll just kind of go from there. So the first one would be the synthetic division. And when we did synthetic division, I'm sorry, long division. First one would be long division. And, oh, I gotta mute that sound so that's not gonna block everything. Hey, Morgan, I'm glad you showed up today. So if we go to do the long division, the top, the numerator, is what goes on the inside of the house. And that x minus 8, which is in the denominator, that goes outside. And when we do long division, we have to look at the variables. So our main focus is to sit on this x and this x squared. And we're trying to see what can we multiply to this x that's on the outside right here that can give us x squared. Well, in this case, the only thing we can multiply to get x squared is x. So I'm just going to write that right above. And then our next step was to distribute the x to both of the numbers on the outside. So if I distribute that x to x minus 8, I'm going to have x squared and negative 8x. After we do the distributing, you guys needed to make sure that you are subtracting, but you are subtracting every term. Some of you guys, when we did this last week, were only putting the subtraction sign in front of the x squared, but we are also subtracting negative 8x. So when we go to subtract this, we have to change the signs. And now we're just going straight down. So the x squareds cancel out, and negative 7x and 8x is just going to give us a positive 1x. And then all we're doing is bringing down the next number, and we're going to repeat the process. So now all I'm looking for you guys to do is tell me the same exact thing. So if I look at this x right here, how many times does this x fit into x? And hopefully you guys know that that is just once. So I'm going to put a little plus 1 right here. And then I'm going to distribute that 1 to the x and the minus 8. And we're just repeating this whole process all over. After I write it down there, I just have to make sure that I put the subtraction sign out front. But I'm subtracting everything. I'll use a different color so it's not getting mixed up. So I'm going to put a minus in front of the x, and if I put a minus in front of the 8, it's just going to turn into its opposite. And now I can work straight down. The x's cancel out, and a negative 11 plus 8 would give us a negative 3. So we have our answer, we have our remainder. You guys just have to remember how to write it in quotient remainder form. So when you guys have your quotient, that is just the answer that was sitting up top. So we have x plus 1. And this little negative 3 down here was our remainder. But just remember, when we do our remainder, we have to divide it by the original denominator, which was x minus 8. I know some of you guys write it as plus negative 3 over x minus 8, and that means the same thing. So either way is acceptable. So I'm going to pause there for a second. I'll make sure everybody's caught up. If you guys got any questions with that, let me know. And what do I got here? Cassidy, I think after I go over this whole thing, I think you're not going to have questions on the lab anymore, because everything that I'm going to be doing on this review is the lab. Can you do the long division on question 2? Also, I didn't know if I had to do 0x placeholder. So I am going to talk about the placeholder thing, and that is what's going on in number 2. So Sierra, you were dead on with that. But any questions with the long division? So I'm also going to show it with the synthetic division, and that's what I was going to do in number 2. So if you're doing long division in number 2, you should get the same answer that I'm going to get. The big thing that we have to point out, if you were just reading in chat, is what Sierra said. Sierra said, can you bring down, or I'm sorry, can you do the one on question 2? I don't know if there has to be a 0x placeholder. So when we do long division, we have to make sure that we have all the terms. We can't be missing any degrees. So we have a degree of 3, a degree of 2, we're missing a degree of 1. So what I'm really going to do is I'm going to rewrite this numerator. Let me use a different color to cross this off. So I'm going to cross this off, and I'm going to rewrite it as x cubed minus 3x squared. And because we're missing an x, we have to rewrite it as plus 0x plus 6. So we did one like that. I believe it was in lesson 2. It was the warm up in lesson 2. So now that we got that there, now if you're going to do long division, you can follow the same steps as we just did on number 1. Again, I'm going to do synthetic because I knew a lot of people preferred doing the synthetic. It was a mix between the classes. So now when we do synthetic, just remember, synthetic is fake division. So the way I showed you guys, because it's fake, I did the division sign upside down. So I got my division sign upside down, and on the inside we just have to write down all the coefficients. So x cubed has a leading coefficient of 1. My next number is -3. We have that placeholder of 0 that we just added in there, and then we have that +6. The number on the outside is not going to be the x minus 2. The rule that we did in class is we said that we had to take that x minus 2 and set it equal to 0. So anytime you're looking for the number on the outside for synthetic, you just have to set it equal to 0 and solve. Well, in order to solve that, all we have to do is just add the 2 over to the other side, and x would be equal to 2. So we're going to take that number 2 and bring it to the outside, and now we'll follow the steps of synthetic division. So again, if you did long division, just check to see if my answer after I go through this whole process matches up with what you got. So first step in synthetic division, after you set it all up, you bring down that first number. And now we're just going to multiply the 2 and the 1. So 2 times 1 will be 2. -3 plus 2 would give us -1. Then we multiply the new number, the 2 and the -1 together, and that would give us -2. 0 minus 2 is going to be -2. And then I have to multiply 2 times -2, which would be -4. And 6 minus 4 should be 2. So again, as I went through this process, I took the 2 and I multiplied it to this 1 down here, and that answer got written up inside the little box. Then I combined these two numbers to get -1, and then I repeated the process. So now I took this 2 and I distributed it to this -1, which gave us the -2, and so on, and repeat. Okay? The other thing I showed in class is I boxed off that last number, because when you box off that last number, it's just a remainder. So that 2 being the remainder, now we have our solution. We just have to write it in that quotient remainder form. So this is where you got to check. If you did long division, see if it matches up with what I did right here. So because we started off with x cubed, when you divide, you're always going to take 1 away from the degree. You're going to take 1 away from the exponent. So since we started with x cubed, this 1 right here is really just representing x squared. And now we just follow the order. So we went from x squared. The next is going to be -x. You can put the 1s in front if you want to, but they're not necessary. Then we have -2. And then the remainder of 2 means that we're going to do +2 all over the numerator, which is x minus 2. I'm assuming that was you, Javon, that just asked that question. Can you do it with long division? I'm not going to do the long division right now because I just want to save time on the video. When people go to download this on iTunes, the longer the video, the longer it's going to take to download. And if you don't have Wi-Fi, some people are going to be like sitting down waiting for this to download for like 15 minutes. So check to see if the answer matches up. If you really want me to see or do the long division, send me an email after the fact, and then I can go back and I can check your work. So those were the 2 types of divisions that we did. First one, long division. Second one was synthetic division. I don't care which one you choose to do. I know we talked about the regents. The regents is going to probably do a preference of one or the other. But as of right now, I'm not too worried about the regents. That is not me saying that it is canceled. I'm just saying I'm not worried about it right now. Let's just worry about what we're doing today. Okay, so is there any questions on either one of the divisions? I know I got to pause because there's a little delay between me talking and your videos. No. Wait. I thought Winks, are you one of mine?
Yeah, I don't think it's mine.
Oh, okay. I thought we. Who's Winks? Winks Nova. Who are you? So Javon, after I'm done doing this, I'll shoot you an email of it. You guys do not have to turn this in. I know I said turn it in, but I didn't plan on doing this video, so it's because I'm doing it with you guys right now. It's kind of pointless for you guys to turn it in because you can just watch the video and just copy everything down. What I'm more worried about is that lab. All right.
It's Hunter.
Oh, that's Hunter. Okay. Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you. You guys act like I'm supposed to know this. Winx Nova, of course. That's Hunter. Obviously. Polynomial identities. When you do polynomial identities, our goal was just to see if both sides are equal. So anytime if you're checking to see if something's an identity, what I told you guys to do in class is just draw a line straight down from that equal sign and just try to figure out which side you can simplify. If you look at these two right now, I would have to say that the right side is the only side we can simplify because if you look at the left, you have x to the 6 plus y to the 6, and those aren't like terms, so you can't add them together. This is not due today. I know the Power School says it's due today. Get it to me when you can. I know Shobi's been messed up. It should be okay now. A lot of people were able to turn in the lessons. I saw Tessa was able to just turn something in like 30 seconds ago, so Shobi should be up and running. Just get it to me when you can. I will grade it when I see it. If it says it's late, it doesn't matter. But back to the polynomial identities. When you guys go to solve this one, we can distribute the right side. So you have to do double distribution. I know some of you guys prefer doing box method, which is fine, but I'm just going to distribute the x squared all the way through. So I'm going to have x squared times x to the fourth is x to the 6. X squared times negative x squared y squared would be x to the fourth y squared because we have to make sure we're adding those exponents. And x squared times y to the fourth is just going to be the same, x squared y to the fourth. Next, I just want to distribute the second part. So if I go to distribute the second part, the y squared, I could do y squared times all of those, and it's the same thing all over again. This time it's going to be x to the fourth y squared. It's going to be negative x squared y to the fourth. And then the last part is just going to be y to the 6. So after you have that all said and done, just check to see if you can combine any like terms. And in this case, you guys should notice you have a negative x to the fourth y squared and a positive x to the fourth y squared, which means those will cancel out. You also have an x to the squared y to the fourth and a negative x squared y to the fourth. Those will cancel out. So really, all we are left with is x to the 6 plus y to the 6. If we look back on that left side, you should see that these check, so we do have an identity. Okay, so take a look at that. If you got a question with what I just did, let me know. Do you think we'll be able to hand in all my paperwork when we come back? Yeah, that's fine, Hunter. You have two options, Hunter. If you want it graded right away, you can just take a picture of it and send it to me. Same thing. I'm gonna make an assumption. Is Buffalo Bills, is that Chandler? But same answer. If you guys have the paper copies and you want to turn it in before we get back to school, whenever that would be, just take a picture of it and you could just email it to me if that's easier for you. If you don't have access to do that, don't worry about it. Alright, just wait, and I know there's a small delay with it, so I'm just checking to see if any of you guys have questions. Number 4 is exactly the same. I'm not going to do number 4 right now. I just want to point out one thing. When you guys go to double distribute in number 4, eventually you guys are going to be multiplying these BI and BI. And those I's are representing imaginary numbers. So when you're doing bi times negative bi, that's really going to be b squared I squared. So when you guys go to multiply those, just remember that I squared is the same thing as negative 1. So we haven't done i's in a little bit, so I just want to make sure I point that out. Sierra, what I'll do for you guys is I'll upload this entire answer key right to iTunes, so then you guys can just go right through and check through it and make sure that you're all good. And that way, if you still have any questions on it or it's not matching up, you guys can just contact me and I can help you out. So I'm jumping down to what we did in lesson 3. Lesson 3 is going to be creating polynomial functions. And polynomial functions was the way where we worked backwards. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. In this case, I could do either one and it's going to be solved the same way. We just have to remember when we're solving it backwards that you're given the zeros first. So if these are zeros, just remember that zeros are the same thing as saying the x values. So I gave you guys 3 x values here. The 3 x values are going to be x equals 3, x equals 5, and x equals 1/2. So if we want to solve this backwards, we just have to make sure to put them back into its bubble form. So if I put it into its bubble form, I'm going to have x minus 3, x minus 5, and x minus 1/2. And we just have to remember, anytime we solve an equation, we always set it equal to y. But if you guys recall from the lesson, we said that all these zeros can have multiple a values. So we have to try to figure out the a value that's going to work for this point up here, negative 116. So I also have to make sure I add in my a value in order to solve this problem. Now that I put that a value in there, I can plug in negative 1 and 16 for the x's and y's and just solve it straight down. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have 16 for the y. We don't know what a is, so I'm just going to leave it, and I'm going to plug in the negative 1's for those x's. Now I just got to simplify it down. So I'll have 16 is equal to, we have a times negative 4 times negative 6, and negative 1 minus 1/2. How do I want to write this? I don't want to write it as a mixed number. So I'm just going to say it's negative 1.5, which do I want to leave it as a fraction? I'll just say negative 1.5. I'll change it to a decimal, make life a little bit easier for us. Hunter, you did not have to subscribe. What are you doing? Jeez. Thank you, Hunter. And thank you. I know some other people were sending bits and sending subscriptions the other day. Thank you. You guys do not have to send money to me. Don't send money. I'm never going to ask for money. This is just me doing what I'm doing. Okay?
And Nightbot has no mercy.
Yeah, I got to figure out this. I apologize if you guys are getting like, Cassidy, Nightbot just attacked you. I don't know what you did, but Nightbot said you were wrong. So, jeez, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to fix that for the next stream. Where was I? So I got negative 4 times negative 6 times negative 1.5, and that's showing that's going to come out to be negative 36. So I have 16 is equal to negative 36a. I'm running out of room. So if I were to get a all by itself, we just got to do 16 divided by negative 36, which comes out to be negative 0.4 repeating. But if I change that to a fraction, it looks like it's going to be negative 4/9. Cassie, I'm not going to grade this at all. I'm not grading this one. This one's just practice. Technically, the last step that you guys have to do in number 5 is write it down as a final equation where we have to plug the -4/9 back in for A. I'm not going to have you guys do that right now. All I want you guys to be able to do is find that A value. So if you can find the A, I'm happy. So every question that we've done so far, I mean 1, 2, 3, and 5, you will see questions like that on the lab. So hopefully, if you didn't know how to do one of the questions on the lab, these have helped you out so far. So I'm not going to do number 6 because number 6 is the same thing as number 5. It's just more practice if you want to try it on your own. I'll upload the answer key so you guys can check it. These ones are the fun ones. And the ones... There's very little difference with the calculators. This calculator, I'm not going to ask you guys to do anything crazy with these calculators within the next couple of weeks. So just know how to type in the basic stuff. Like, if as long as you know how to do the X and blah, 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 and how to type in all your different multiplications and stuff like a regular calculator, you should be fine. Yes, if you're looking for the remainder, that just means do long division and tell me what's left over. I don't know what the graph one is on the lab right now, so Cassidy, just ask me after I'm done doing this review. Alright. It says, so number 7, I have to do 7 and I have to do 8 for this lesson. So if you guys take a look at number 7, it says find the X and Y intercepts. Again, I'm not going to go crazy with this because we've been doing X-intercepts and Y-intercepts since the beginning of the school year. I just want to make sure that you guys remember what each one means, so I'm just going to write it down. If we have an X-intercept, you guys have to remember that this just means Y is equal to 0. And if we have a Y-intercept, that means it is X equals 0. So you have to solve these, and the only way you guys can solve these is by plugging them in. So I have to solve this twice. So I'm going to plug in the 0 for the Y. Again, I'm not going to solve it. I'm just showing you guys this beginning step for each one. And then I can do the same thing on the other side, and I'll have Y equals 3 times 0 plus 6 over 4 times 0. From there, solve both of those. And actually, I should probably do the y-intercept one because what I'm noticing here is if you guys were to multiply these, we're just going to have 6 over 0. And we talked about this in class. That is not allowed to happen because anytime we divide by 0, we said that is undefined. Okay, so any questions about that? On the left side, you just have to put the 0 over 1 and you just have to cross multiply. And I trust you guys can do that without any issues and figure out what X is. Alright. That's 6 minus 0, Tessa. 6 divide. Remember, you can never divide by 0 because you can't divide by 0. That's like illegal in math. It's like one of the first math laws that we teach. Yeah, if you were doing subtraction, you could say that's 6, but not with division. Anytime there's 0 on the bottom, it will always mean that the function is undefined. Inverse. We did inverse. We did these ones earlier. We did this last week. Inverse, we just have to remember this means that we have to switch X and Y. So the first thing I'm going to do is just switch the X and Y's around. And you guys should notice that you will have 2 Y's in this function when you switch. And just like we said in question number 7, in order to solve this, we got to put that X over 1 and we have to cross multiply. So I'm going to do the X times the Y minus 2. And I'm also going to do the 1 times y plus 3. Does not matter which order you put this in, you will get the same answer either way. So I'm going to have xy minus 2x if you distribute that x in. And then 1 times anything is just going to stay the same. And now the goal is to just get all the y's on the same side. So I'll show this in multiple steps to make sure everybody has this down. All the y's have to be on the same side. It does not matter which y's you move. So there's 2 of them that have y's in it. This xy and this y right here. You cannot solve for an inverse unless you get them on the same side. I'm going to move it all to the left side. Now again, you can do it either way. If you move it to the right, you'll still get the same answer as me. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract the y's on both sides. And you guys will notice on the right side, it's just going to cancel out. On the left side, you cannot subtract x, y, and y. So I'm just going to rewrite it. And I'm just going to bring everything else down. And our goal is to get all the y's alone. So I got the x, y, and y on the left, but I still got to move the 2x back over to the other side. So in order for me to put the 2x over to the other side, I'm just going to have to add it over. So now I'm going to be left with xy minus y is equal to 3 plus 2x. And now once we get all the way there, the last thing we have to, well, there's still 2 steps, but the big part that we have to make sure we're doing is we're getting y all alone. So in order to get that y all alone, we have to make sure that we use that step called GCF. We have to factor the y out. And I know I'm running out of room here, so I'm just going to kind of shift everything up so I can fit it right here. So I could pull that y to the outside, and in doing so, I'm going to be left with an x minus 1 on the inside. So again, this step right here was really just GCF. It was just factoring. So now that I pulled that y to the outside, I'm still left with the 3 plus 2x on the other side. And now the last step to get that y all alone, we just have to divide both sides by x minus 1. So if I divide it both by x minus 1, I'm going to be left with y equals 3 plus 2x all over x minus 1. Technically, there is a second answer. So I told you guys earlier on that if you move the y over to the other side, your answer would just come out to be completely opposite. So if you got an answer of negative 3 minus 2x all over negative x plus 1, that is also correct. Let's see here. Tabitha, you said the polynomial functions, do we have to find the b value in order to write the equation? Are you talking about... I don't know which one you're talking about specifically, Tabitha. If it's on the lab, just send me an email afterwards and I can help you out. If you're talking about numbers 5 and 6, there are no b values. There are no b values for it. So all I want you to do is tell me what the a value is and you're fine. Sierra, if I switch the 2x plus 3, would that be wrong? Nope, that's commutative property. So because you have addition and subtraction, I'm sorry, addition and multiplication, you're allowed to flip-flop them around. If it's subtraction, you do not. No, you do not need both, Hunter. This is one or the other. So I just wrote down both answers because some people may have moved everything to the left, some people may have moved everything to the right. It will give you that same solution either way. It just changes the signs. Okay? So I'm going down to the next page. These last few are going to go a little bit faster. Again, which one do I want to do up here? I'm going to probably do part B because I know how you guys are. So I'm going to do 9B. I'm going to skip over 9A. You guys can go back and do 9A on your own. But yeah, I've seen you guys solve or factored the denominator in this, and you guys always struggle with it, so I might as well help you out. So if you guys look at this, we have x squared minus 16 over 3x squared plus 28x minus 20. And I just want to read what it says. It says determine the domain. So in order to find the domain of a rational function, in order to find the domain of a fraction, we said, as we stated up in this question up here, we're not allowed to have a 0 in the denominator. As soon as you get a 0 in the denominator, the fraction doesn't exist. So if we want to find the domain for part B, what we want to do is just focus on this denominator. That's all we care about. And what we're going to do is set it equal to 0. So I have 3x squared plus 28x minus 20 is equal to 0. Now, the reason why I chose to do this one with you guys is because this is that guess and check method. And I know a lot of you guys dread this method. So if I have 3x squared plus 28x minus 20, I have to put it into two separate bubbles. The 3x squared is the easy one because there's only one thing that we can multiply to get 3x squared, and that's 3x and x. There's nothing else that we can do there. As far as the guess and check goes, well, there's multiple things we can get to do 20. So we can take this 20 and we can say 4 times 5. We can say 2 times 10. We can say 1 times 20. So those are the three different multiples, the three sets of multiples that we can have to get to that 20. So now we're just kind of guessing, and then we're going to check it. So I'm just going to plug in two random numbers, and then I'll tell you guys the right answer after I show you that little process. Let's say that we choose 4 and 5. So I'm going to put 4 here, and I'm going to put 5 here. We said in order to check this, what we're going to do is multiply the insides and multiply the outsides. Well, if you multiply the insides, we're going to get 4x. If you guys multiply the outsides, you're going to get 15x. You guys then have to check to see if you can add or subtract those together to get that middle term of 28. And hopefully we're seeing you can't you can't add 15 and 4. You can't subtract 15 and 4. That's not going to work. So I'm going to erase that. You can try changing the order, and you could put the 5 first and the 4 second. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm multiplying off the top of my head. 5x and 12x is not going to give us 28. So I'm going to erase those. Again, I'm just going to tell you guys the answer right now. In order to figure this out, I know this is going to be 10, and I know this is going to be 2. Because if you guys were to do 3 times 10, that would give you 30. 2 times x would give you 2. And then we could subtract 30 and 2 to give us that 28. So the 2 is going to be negative. The 10 is going to be positive. And now we could t-chart it and find the two solutions. So we're going to have x is equal to 2/3. And x is equal to negative 10. And now just remember, what we were doing is we were trying to find the x values that do not work. Because if you take these x values and you plug them in to this denominator right here, you're going to get 0, and that's not allowed. So these two answers do not work. I want to know the ones that do work. So what we did is we wrote them as squiggly brackets when we did it in lesson... What lesson was this one? This was 4? Yeah, this was still in lesson 4. Holy cow, we did a lot in lesson 4. So if we go to do the squiggly brackets, the first part's always the same when you do the domain in a squiggly bracket. You have x with that vertical line, and then we're just going to put down x cannot equal 2/3, and oops, what did I just do? And x cannot equal negative 10. And we close that squiggly bracket. Part A is the same thing. So in part A, it means exactly the same. You're just solving that denominator, finding and again, you'll get two answers that will technically not work, and then you just have to write them in squiggly brackets. Okay? I know that one kind of, I just talked through the whole thing. So did anybody have questions setting that one up? Let's see here. I got other teachers blowing up my phone right now. The math department's trying to. You guys have been on top of stuff. So I think it's saying that I got 28 people in here right now. Everybody that's in here right now, you guys have been keeping up with me. I know there's a lot of teachers that are having trouble trying to get in contact with their students. So they're trying to ask me what I'm doing. And I'm just saying right now, can you guys picture like anybody else in that school doing a Twitch right now? Because I don't know. I'm trying. The one person that always comes to my mind is Mr. Janish. I would love to see Mr. Janish do a Twitch. I would definitely subscribe to that. All right. 10. I can see Zell's doing it. In number 10, I have f of x and g of x. These are composition functions. So when you guys go to do composition, you have to make sure you follow the inside and then go to the outside. I'm going to do part B because that one is solving it with x. If you're to do part A, that's technically the easier one because you're plugging in a number. So in part B, the first thing that I'm asking you guys to do is f of x. Well, f of x is this part right here, and it's telling us to substitute in x. So if you substitute in x, it's going to be f of x equals 2x plus 5. We can't do anything else. That's it. So now we have to take that answer, which is 2x plus 5, and substitute it in for, oops, I'm on pen, not highlighter. I got to substitute it in for g. So I'm going to have g of, well, we're just taking this part right here and substituting it in. So just remember, you're substituting in twice. So I got to put it at 2x plus 5 up top. And I also have to put in the 2x plus 5 on the bottom. And now I'm going to simplify. So now if I simplify it, on the top, the 5s are going to cancel out because you have a 2x plus 5 minus 5. So a plus 5 and a minus 5 disappears. On the bottom, we got to distribute. So it'll be 6x plus 15 plus 5. We then can combine the bottoms, which would give us a 2x all over 6x plus 20. And now I can just reduce all those by 2. So if I reduce all those by 2, I'm going to be left with x over 3x plus 10. Twitch won't let them have but? They can't say but?
Nope. He asked, though, do we have to write the f of x?
F of x. Are you talking about the blue part that I put up here? Was that butt beef that asked that?
I think so.
So yeah, the f of x. I mean, technically, you don't have to write this part right here since it was going to stay exactly the same. If you recognize it was going to stay exactly the same, you just plug it in. Butt beef. I do not know who you are. I just think it's funny to keep saying butt beef. So I'm sorry. So I don't know who you are, but odds are, like I said, I'll have to play around with this Nightbot thing. For whatever reason, Nightbot and Twitch think butt is inappropriate. So you guys always complain that I talk about poop in class, and now we're talking about butts. We can go back and start talking about poop again. It's up to you guys. Last thing that I gotta do with you guys is just simplifying rational expressions.
It's Olivia?
Oh, of course it's Olivia. Wait, no, not of course. I'm thinking Olivia is a senior Olivia. I would have not thought that was you. Okay, that's too funny. So, I want to do 11 with you guys. Because number 12 is doing the guess and check. You have to do guess and check on the top and guess and check on the bottom. So, if you guys take a look at number 11, the reason why I want to go over this one is because we're going to be talking about a small little rule that we did, and then I could call it quits with you guys. So in number 11, anytime you guys are simplifying rational expressions, if you're simplifying fractions, you just have to factor top and bottom first. So if we factor the top, we can factor that with our double bubble. We're factoring a trinomial. X squared is just going to be x and x. And the two numbers that we can multiply to get to 12 that add up to 7 are 3 and 4. And the signs are going to be negative. Now I got to factor the bottom. When we go to factor the bottom, that is dots because they are both perfect squares. Well, the only thing you guys can multiply to get 16 that is a perfect square, well, that makes it a perfect square, is going to be 4 and 4. And notice where I'm putting the 4s. This is, some of you guys are still making this mistake. I've seen it. Because the 16 comes first, that means the 4s have to come first. Now I'm going to do the x's. One's going to be a plus x, one's going to be a minus x. So the one rule that we said when you guys cancel out, if something is exactly the same on top and bottom, they're gone. The issue with this question is x minus 4 and 4 minus x are not exactly the same. Recall what we said in lesson number 5. If it is the same numbers but flipped around with subtraction, they cancel out to become negative 1. So we just have to cross them off and put a negative 1 on top. And now in order to simplify it, you're just going to distribute the negative 1 into the top numbers, which is just going to be, actually I'll show it in 2 steps. This is really saying we're going to do negative 1 times x minus 3 all over 4 plus x. Some of you guys may want to flip it around and say x plus 4. That is fine because it's addition. And then if we simplify that, we have to distribute the negative, so we'll have negative x plus 3 all over, and I'll switch it around and say it's x plus 4. Any questions on that one? And you know, this was probably a question I should have asked you guys at the beginning. Has the audio been okay? I know I asked this question the last time I did that like practice stream, and I actually got a few emails afterwards saying it was not good. So I cranked it up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to, I got like one of those, they call it a boomstick that they use for the movies and stuff, but it's going to be an arm bar that connects to my desk, so the mic will be like right in front of my face, so then you definitely can hear me loud and clear. Should be coming in this weekend. Because as of right now, if luckily you guys don't need to hear it, but if I'm trying to type on my keyboard, you guys can hear every single thing, and that may get annoying. Awesome. Tabitha, doesn't matter. X plus 4 and 4 plus x mean the same thing, so it doesn't matter which order. You only cannot switch it if it's subtraction. If it's subtraction, don't switch it. Addition, okay. Yes, commutative property. So, as far as that goes, I hope that's going to help you out as far as the labs go. If you still got a question on the lab, I'm going to recommend doing an email. Contact me on Remind, and I can answer those questions individually, because I don't really want to give you the answers on the labs. As I said in the one email to you guys the other day, the lab technically was going to be the quiz. So I'll help you out with the vocabulary and make sure that you guys know how to answer, or what you need to do to answer the question, but I'm not going to tell you how to answer the question, if that makes sense. Okay? But if Twitter edition, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But anyways, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm probably gonna sign out, because that's about it. My wife and I are talking about possibly jumping on later tonight. I don't know how bored you guys have been for the last couple of days, but we're just gonna try to find some fun games that my wife and I can play, and then you guys can watch it. we can only do stuff that's on my computer right now. I'm waiting for what's called a capture card, and the capture card would connect the my Nintendo Switch right to my PC, so you guys can watch us play anything on the Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. But we'll probably jump on whether you guys are here or not. We're gonna play video games because that's what we like to do. Otherwise, I hope you guys are all doing well. I miss you all. Love you all. That's funny. I was just talking about Animal Crossing with you. I was actually talking about getting Animal Crossing on the Switch because I saw it was a co-op game. Nothing but paper with the subscription. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you guys are... If you guys are subscribing, please, I don't want your money. I don't want your money. If you guys are subscribing and you're doing it with Twitch Prime, I guess that's a little bit different because Twitch Prime, that's kind of free. So if you're subscribing with that, that's fine. I'm not going to complain, obviously. But again, I'm never going to ask for it. Who is Nothing But Paper, by the way?
Oh, I read that so different. Ooh.
No? I see you guys are either turning stuff in or you're already asking me a bunch of questions. But, alright, well, I am getting off. If we get on later today, feel free to jump on and see us. I hope you guys have an awesome evening. And I will send you out a schedule starting next week. A lot of you guys on the survey responded that you want to do these lessons after 3 p.m. So what I'll probably do is set something up similar to that. We've been on for an hour right now. I don't really want to make the lessons go on for an hour. That seemed a little bit longer than I wanted to, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure you guys can answer those labs, the Unit 10 lab. So, thanks, Doogman. I don't know. I gotta start learning who you guys all are with your little made up names here. But I hope you guys have an awesome evening. Stop back on later today if you want. Have a good one. Miss you all. Love you all. See you soon.